Hello, everybody. My name is Wendy, and I'm going to be teaching an all-level Pilates class today here at Studio Blue. Should you have any injuries, please feel free to find modifications that feel appropriate and right for your own body. You don't have to do all the exercises that I'm doing or as I am doing them. Find modifications or versions that feel right for you. We are going to start with a somewhat gentle start today. We're going to actually start lying on our backs, which I don't do too often. So you can go ahead and lie on back. The knees are going to be bent, feet flat. And just for a moment, just let your bones settle into the floor. And even taking the moment to feel the floor supporting you. And so what we'll do is we'll just start with a little bit of breathing. If you want to place one hand on your low belly, so the pinky is just above the pubic bone, and the other hand on your lower bottom ribs, front ribs. And so from here, you're going to go ahead and just take a nice inhale in through the nose and feel both the rib cage and the belly expand. And as you exhale, take the breath out through the mouth like you're blowing out through a narrow straw. And when you think you're done exhaling, try for a little more and notice how the abdominals engage and pull away from your bottom hand. And those bottom front ribs pull down away from your top hand as well. And again, inhaling in through the nose, starting to feel the lungs expand 360 degrees. And then again, exhale, blowing out through your imaginary straw, making sure you get all the air out. And so the abdominals, the deepest layer, naturally engage. And again, taking an inhale there. And exhale. Now from here, you can go ahead and just lengthen your arms down next to your sides. And again, take your inhale. And this time as you exhale, you're gonna go ahead and just tip the pelvis towards the rib cage so your low back is pressing into the floor. And then on your inhale, just let the pelvis return back to your spine's natural curvature. And then again, exhale, curling the tail away from the floor, and so the low back presses down. And then inhale, letting the pelvis rock back to the spine's natural curvature. So it's almost as if the pelvis were a basin full of water. And when you tip it towards the rib cage, it kind of pours water up towards your chin. And then when you start to tip it away from you almost want to think like you're going to tip some water out over the pubic bone towards your feet. And again, exhale, a little tip towards the rib cage. And then inhale, tipping towards the feet. And go ahead and bring that back to center. Now we're going to tip a little bit from side to side. And I realize these movements are fairly small and discrete, so you're not going to see much happening with me. So definitely listen to my words carefully. Now you're going to go ahead and exhale. We're going to tip to the right, so as if you're pouring water out over that right hip bone. So that left hip is slightly reaching up towards the ceiling. And then inhaling back to center. And then exhale, tipping to the left, so that right hip reaches up a little. And inhaling back to center. And you may notice that one side feels a lot easier to find than the other if you have a little rotation through your spine already. The thighs themselves are going to stay pretty still. Inhaling center, exhale one more time, rocking to the right. And center, and then rocking to the left. And go ahead and bring that back to center and just let the pelvis settle. Now you're going to draw the arms on up to the ceiling, palms facing one another. And we're going to inhale, reach up so the shoulder blades lift away from the floor. And then exhale, go ahead and pull your shoulder blades back into the floor like you're going to make a little imprint of them in the mat. Inhale, reaching up, and exhale, retracting back. So while you're making this action with your shoulder blades, we're trying to keep the neck and rib cage in a still position aside from the breath. And so we're isolating movement of the scapula and differentiating it from our neck. Let's do one more time, reaching up, and then retracting back. And let the arms and shoulder blades just settle so the collarbone feels wide. And now from here, we're going to go ahead and exhale. Start to take the arms overhead. Definitely stay in a range of motion that feels right for your shoulders. Think of your ribs slightly pulling down in front. So you might feel a little upper abdominal engagement there. And then rotate the palms to the ceiling and draw a big circle around to your hips. And then again, sweeping up and over on your exhale, ribs slightly drawing down in front. and then reaching out for the sidewalls as you circle around. And again, take it up and over, and then circle around. One more time here, take it up and over, and circle around. When the arms are down next to your sides, turn your palms down and gently press the backs of the arms and palms into the floor. So now we're gonna start a little bridging. So you're gonna take an inhale, and exhale, tip the pelvis towards the rib cage and start to roll the pelvis up one vertebra at a time. And as you do, think of your knees reaching slightly forward out over your toes. So at the top of your bridge, you feel like you have a straight line from your sternum to your knees. Feel for the sensation of your inner and outer edges of your feet against the mat. Take a nice inhale here, and exhale, soften through the breastbone, and just start to lift the spine, lead the way back into the floor. One vertebra at a time. Letting the tail release to neutral, take your inhale, and take an exhale, tipping the pelvis towards the rib cage, rolling back up. Knees reach out over the toes, heels slightly pulling back towards your sit bones to increase your hamstring engagement. Inhale, and exhale, soften through the breastbone. Try to leave the shoulders open and wide as you let the ribs roll back into the floor. Inhale when you find neutral, and again, exhale, go ahead and roll it back up. This time at the top of the bridge, while we keep our trunk nice and still here, we're gonna go ahead and draw the arms overhead. Think of your fingertips and knees reaching oppositionally away from one another. And then the breastbone's gonna fall back between the shoulder blades. So as we roll down through the spine, you might feel a nice stretch through your lats, as well as kind of a tractioning sensation through the spine. It's a feel-good exercise. Allow your tail to release, and then inhale the arms back down next to your sides. And exhale, go ahead and peel it back up. And again, inhale, taking the arms overhead. And exhale, soften the breastbone back, peeling on down and through. When your pelvis arrives, bring your arms back down next to your sides. Take your inhale, and exhale. This time we're going to go ahead and roll the hips on up. Arms will stay down against the floor on this next version. Now we're going to go ahead, again, think of your pelvis as a basin full of water. We're going to pour some water out over that right hip bone so our pelvis dips a little bit. And then we're going to press down through that right foot to help bring it back to center. Inhale, dip it over, pouring water out over that left hip bone now, and then bringing it back to center. Inhale, rotating right. Exhale, press to bring center. Inhale, rotate left. Exhale, press to bring it center. And feeling how that contact through the feet helps you find your hip muscles. Inhale to the left, pressing down through that left foot to help you find your left glutes to come center. Let's do one more on each side, tipping to the right. Exhale, center, and tipping to the left, and then come center. Take an inhale here, exhale, soften through the breastbone and start to roll on down and through. All the way back to neutral. So from here, walk your inner thighs all the way together, and then reaching the arms out to the sides, palms to the ceiling. If you're in a small space, you can always go goalpost position or a low V. So from here, as we keep our shoulder blades against the floor, we're going to inhale, rock our knees over to the left, right. The outer edge of that left foot is going to lift away from the floor, so the legs can actually stay together as one unit. And then exhale, think of using your waistline to start to draw the left side of the rib cage back into the floor, and then the waistline and that left hip return. Inhale, knees go over to the left. Outer edge of that right foot will come away from the mat. And then exhale to bring it back. Go ahead and do a couple more here, just kind of allowing the spine to warm up into rotation, but it's not such a big rotation that our spine begins to arch. Again, both shoulder blades maintain their contact with the floor. So we're going to try slightly different variation. You can always come back to that one if you want to. We'll draw the legs up to a tabletop position, which is 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees. So again, you're going to keep your legs together as one unit. As you inhale, tip the thighs to the right, that left hip lifts up. And then exhale, use your waistline to pull that left hip back into the floor to return. Inhale over to the left with the thighs, and exhale to bring it back. Check in that both shoulder blades are keeping their contact with the floor. And over to the left. This time when you bring it back to center, go ahead and pause there, but keep the legs in your tabletop position. Now you're going to draw the arms on up to the ceiling and just let your shoulder blades and back of rib cage settle and widen into the mat. Head should be relaxed, neck neutral. On your next exhale, you're going to start to lower your right toes to the floor. Think of drawing your abdominals back towards the ground, and inhale to bring the leg up. Exhale, other foot goes down, and inhale to lift. So now if you're noticing that your back is getting involved or you're arching away from the floor more, make your range of motion just a little bit smaller. You don't have to go all the way to the mat. You can just do kind of a little jog in space. If you want to make this a little more advanced, you can reach a little further away from your own body, and you can even try taking the arms slightly overhead. Exhale as you lower. Inhale to bring the thigh up. Exhale, lower, and bring it up. From here, you're going to go ahead, bring the arms back to the ceiling, place one foot all the way down, and then the other foot follows. Now you're going to go ahead and interlace your hands back behind your skull. Take a moment to really let your elbows open out into the floor for a moment and even push them back into the ground. And so you feel a little engagement between the shoulder blades. And now from here, go ahead and let that relax. And in fact, bring your elbows forward. And so they point to the corners of the room where the wall meets the ceiling. Now reach those elbows to that place. And let's go ahead on your exhale, a little nod of the chin to the Adam's apple, peel the head and shoulder blades up off the floor. Eyeballs should be just above the knees. And then inhale to lower back down with control. And again, exhale, rounding up. And inhale to lower. See if you can keep your low back in a relaxed position here. If hands behind the head isn't comfortable for your shoulders or any other part of the body, you can always try hands crossed in front, or excuse me, forearms crossed in front, and see if that's a better match for you. And I'll go back to this. Let's go ahead and just do one more, peeling up and lowering back down. Now you're going to keep your right hand behind your head and lengthen the left arm down next to the side of your body. Take an inhale and exhale. Start to roll the head and shoulder blades up. As you get to the bottom tips of the shoulder blades, begin rotating towards the left. And so the right side of the rib cage starts to peel away from the mat. And then bring it back to center and lower back down. And again, exhale, peeling up and rotating. The pelvis stays dropped into the floor even as you rotate. Exhale to round up. When you rotate left, engage that left inner thigh, squeezing in just a little bit to help you find that full oblique connection. And again, exhale, rounding up and rotate. Come to center and lower. Let's do one more on this side. Rounding up. Rotating left, back to center, and lower. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So you'll place your left hand behind the head, right arm lengthens down next to the side. Take your inhale, and again, exhale, start to roll up to the center to about shoulder blade level, and then begin peeling that left side of the ribcage away from the floor, and then coming center and down. And again, exhale, rounding up, and rotate. And center and down. I'm sure you guys can hear me okay. Two more on this side. Exhale to round up, rotate, center, and down. Last one here. And down. All right, from here, let's go ahead and take the arms back up to the ceiling, palms facing one another. And one at a time, legs come back up to tabletop. You're gonna rotate those palms so they shine towards the knees. Take an inhale. This time, as you exhale, a little nod of the chin to the Adam's apple. As the palms press down, peel your head and shoulder blades up. You're gonna grab hold of the backs of the legs. Let the elbows bend to the side while to help give you a little bit more lift above those shoulder blades. Now pull those low abdominals back in towards the spine and keep that as you release the backs of the thighs. And then you're gonna start to take the fingertips to the ceiling and control it back down. Let's continue taking the arms overhead without letting your rib cage pull away from the mat. Inhale the arms to the ceiling. Exhale, nod the chin, rounding the head and shoulder blades away from the floor. Use the assistance of the arms to bring you up to a little more of an optimal height. And then go ahead and reach and lower back down with control. Arms continue over. Inhale the arms to the ceiling, and again, exhale, rounding up. Hands behind the thighs, curl up a little higher, low belly pulls in. Release the backs of the thighs, trying to maintain your height, and then lower back down with control. This time you're gonna go ahead and inhale the arms to the ceiling, exhale, you'll round up. Again, use the arms to come up a little higher, and now holding here, start to press the backs of your thighs into your hands to pivot yourself up to a seated position. Keep the hands behind the thighs, lift up nice and tall. And now exhale, round back into that C curve. The elbows are gonna stay bent though. So we're gonna keep this shape. And then as you continue going back, the feet will just kind of automatically lift from the floor. But you're gonna see if you can really slow down the rolling back. And again, exhaling, nod the chin, peel it up. Keep the shape of the elbows as the thighs push into the hands, so that pivots you up to your seated position. Inhaling nice and tall. Exhale, curl, rounding as if you're trying to align your throat over the pubic bone. And then from here, as you start to curl back further, the feet lift. So see if you can go back nice and slow. Putting on the brakes at any moment you choose to. And rolling on down. Inhale and exhale, go ahead, peel it on up. Backs of the legs push into the hands. And we come upright. Let your feet separate and so they're about as wide as your sit bones. And this time, go ahead and take the arms out in front of you. So you're gonna exhale, start to curl your sit bones under. This time the feet are gonna stay in contact with the floor. And you're rolling back to about the point that your palms are right over your knees here. So low belly scooped, back of neck is long. We're gonna go ahead and tip back maybe just a ½ inch and exhale, scoop deeper. Inhale back a ½ inch, exhale, scoop deeper. See if you can leave those feet heavy and spread against the floor, allowing those hip flexors to stay out of it as much as possible. Imagining the back of the rib cage opening up as you curl deeper. 2 more here. And then you're gonna aim the nose between the knees. So we curl into a deeper ball. And then you're gonna stack up nice and tall. Inhale here and exhale again, curl those sit bones under. Let those shoulder blades stay wide and relaxed across the mid-back. So now from here, as we keep our pelvis and thighs still, we're gonna imagine we're holding a large ball, and we're gonna go ahead and carry that ball over to the right and come center, and then carry it over to the left. And again, keep this within a range of motion where you feel your abdominals doing the work, but if you start to feel other uncomfortable things happen, like in your back, keep it a smaller range of motion, or maybe don't roll back quite as far. Let's go ahead and do 1 more to the left. And come center, inhale. And again, we're gonna dive the nose between the knees and then stack up nice and tall. Take an inhale and exhale. This time, go ahead and start to roll it on back. Just as you had before. This one, we're gonna go ahead and start to take an arm up. So make sure that as the arm draws up, the shoulder doesn't pull up to the ear. We're letting that shoulder blade glide along the ribs. Inhaling the arm down, and then exhale, left arm up. And again, feel for what's happening in your body, and if it's feeling like you're back is wanting to take over. Again, a smaller range of motion with the arms might be a little more suitable for you. Do one more at the left. And then you're going to go ahead and dive the nose between the knees. Stack up nice and tall. So from here, you're going to go ahead and let your legs lengthen out nice and long. And sit up tall here. So we'll do a little stretch of the hamstrings. If you want to set your hands down to the floor, you're going to nod the chin and then just start to round the spine over and let the palms slide forward in the direction of the ankles. Take a nice inhale there. And then exhale, feel your sit bones reach down and your abdominals pull up as we stack it back up so you're nice and tall. And again, exhale, nodding the chin, sequencing over, letting the palms slide along the floor as you round over the thighs. Take a nice inhale into the stretch. Exhale, reach your sit bones down, lift your low belly up and in, building the spine back up nice and tall. One last one here. Exhale, nod the chin. Rounding over. Inhale there. And exhale to stack it up. Now from here, as you bring the arms out in front of you, you're going to go ahead and exhale. Start to curl your sit bones under. And then as you begin rolling down, you're feeling your sacrum roll through the floor. And ideally, you'd start to feel your low back roll into the floor. But if you find that your low back is arching, then let your heels slide along the ground, and so you can let the low back roll into the floor and roll down. And then again, inhaling the arms to the ceiling, exhale, begin to roll on up. When you get to that sticky, tough spot, let the legs lengthen and press back into the floor to help pivot and round you back up. Nice and tall through the spine. And again, exhale, curl. And you can choose to keep your legs straight the whole time if that variation is preferred by you, like that. And inhaling the arms to the ceiling and exhale, rolling on up. Inhale, tall, and exhale, sit bones curl under. Inhale the arms to the ceiling. Exhale, peel it on up. This time, go ahead and take an inhale and exhale. When we roll down onto the backs, you're just going to let your arms settle down next to your side. So now from here, we're going to go ahead and hug the right knee in towards the chest for a moment. As you're hugging that knee into the chest, start to press into the floor through the back of that left thigh. And now from here, you're going to lengthen that right leg towards the ceiling. You can continue to support the back of the leg with the hands if you want to. And you're going to first do a little pointing and flexing through that right foot. So you peel the toes back and flex, reaching up to the heel and rolling through to the ends of the toes. Creating a nice wave-like motion through the feet, getting the smaller muscles of the feet to wake up and work. And then keeping the legs still in space, you're just going to circle at the ankle joint, circling the foot around. And again, allowing the toes to really play a part of it, letting them separate and then draw back together as they circle. And then go ahead and reverse that. Then go ahead and bring it back to center with a soft pointed foot. Arms are going to come down next to the sides. Again, you're pressing the back of that left thigh into the floor. You're going to inhale the right leg across your midline, and then you're going to allow it to circle around and up. Inhale to take it across and circling around and up. If this is uncomfortable in your right hip, feel free to modify by bending the knee. And usually that allows that femur to sit a little bit more comfortably in the socket. Otherwise, keeping a long leg and trying to keep the rest of your trunk stable. One more time in this direction. Now we're going to reverse, inhaling the leg out and exhale around and up. Inhale out and exhale around and up. Inhale Exhale around. One more time. Good. Let's go ahead, stay connected to your abdominals as we lay that leg down. And now we're going to drag our left heel along the floor and hug that knee in towards our chest for a moment, pressing the back of our right thigh into the floor. And then let's go ahead and lengthen that left leg towards the ceiling. Again, you can keep the hands behind the thigh if you want to. Starting with a pointed foot, you're going to peel the toes back, reach through the ball of the foot, and then reach through the heel towards the ceiling, and then rolling through and point. And again, it's a slow wave-like motion, as if you're pushing something away through the ends of the toes and then pulling something back with them, instead of just a quick hinging at your ankle. Do one more point and flex, and now we're going to go ahead and circle the foot at the ankle joint. Again, the rest of the leg stays pretty still in space. Let your toes play a part of this. And then reverse the circle. And then come to a soft point. Arms can come back down next to your sides, still pressing the back of your right thigh into the floor. Inhale that left leg across the midline and exhale to circle around and up. Inhale across and exhale around and up. Again, if you need to modify because of hip discomfort, try bending the knee or making a smaller circle. Feel what the rest of your trunk is doing. Try to keep it nice and stable. Even checking in with your shoulders. My shoulders really want to help out, and so I have to really mentally work to keep them relaxed. Now you're going to go ahead and inhale the leg out to the left and then circle around the other direction. Inhaling out, exhale around and up. Inhale out, exhale around and up. Let's do one last one here. And then connect to the belly, slowly lower that left leg down to the floor. And then let's step that right foot in and step the left foot in. Going into a little bit of single leg bridge work, you're going to lengthen the arms back down next to your sides. And then let's go ahead and exhale, tip the pelvis towards the rib cage and roll it back up into a bridge. So make sure the ribs are softening into the body a little bit. We're going to go ahead and do a variation today where the elbows are bent, and you can even make little fists here. And you're going to press the backs of your shoulders and elbows into the floor so you feel your mid-back engage slightly. So now from here, you're going to go ahead and press down through your right foot. Try to keep your trunk nice and stable as we take our left leg up. So as that left leg is lifted, you're going to go ahead and push back to your left arm just a little bit more. And so you have kind of a nice diagonal at work from your left shoulder to your right hip. When we step our left foot down and take our right leg up, you're going to go ahead and push back to that right arm a little more. And then step it down. Left leg goes up, left arm pushes back a little more. If you want to, you can take your hands to the hips just to feel that the pelvis is staying pretty still. I always feel like working diagonally through the arm to the standing leg really helps me keep the stability there. Let's go ahead and do one more on each side. And then take an inhale and exhale, let the arms lengthen and go ahead and roll all the way down. We're not done yet with these. So now once you settle into neutral, you're going to go ahead and take, let's go left leg up to tabletop first. So try not to get into trying to get up into the full bridge. It's okay if it's really small. So you're going to go ahead and actually lift the ball of your foot up off the floor. So just your right heel is really digging down into the ground. Now you're going to push to that right heel, and very quickly you're going to feel those low glutes engage as we hover up and lower down and lifting up and lower down. Again, we do want to try to keep our pelvis pretty squared off. Pushing through that right heel. Remember, it's not important that it's a super high bridge. What I really want you to do is just be feeling that you're getting work in that right glute, right upper hamstrings. Notice if your knee or your foot wants to turn out, try and bring it parallel. We're going to do 2 more here. And last one. All right, stepping that left foot down. Now we're going to bring our right leg to a tabletop position, and you're going to lift your left forefoot up off the floor, so just your heels digging down. So again, we push through that left heel. You're going to feel those low glutes fire on pretty quickly, and we lift and inhale down. And exhale, lift and inhale down. My arms are pressing back into the floor a little bit, but not so much that it throws my ribs up to the ceiling. And exhale and lift and inhale lower. Couple more here. And again, it's okay if it's a low bridge. If you're feeling those muscles work, that's great. Two more here. Last one. And lower. All right. Go ahead and hug both of your knees in towards your chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. And then from here, you're going to go ahead and let's take the left hand to the inside of the right knee, moving that right hand down towards the outside of your right ankle. You're going to nod your chin and roll the head and shoulder blades up while lengthening your left leg out nice and long. So push that right knee into the hands, and so it brings you up a little higher. Take an inhale, and then exhale, switch. Inhale and exhale, switch. Keep those low abdominals pulling in. Try to stay above your shoulder blades here. Imagine you're pushing something heavy and fragile away with your feet. So you're not just tossing your legs out into space, you're finding some internal resistance there. Let's do one more on each side. And hug the knees in. From here, hands go behind the thighs. You're going to exhale, nod the chin, roll the head and shoulder blades up. Now start to push the backs of the thighs into the hands without allowing the elbows to lengthen. So again, we rock up to a seated position, or a balance point, sorry. I'm going to scoot forward a little bit on my mat so I make sure that there's definitely room behind me for a rolling like a ball. First couple, let's have the hands behind the thighs. So your ball gets to be a little bit more open. So it's more about rolling and massaging the back out. So you're going to inhale to go just to between your shoulder blades, and exhale, use those low abdominals as brakes rather than flattening the spine to stop. Again, inhale to take it back. Exhale, hold. Inhale to take it back. Now, if this is feeling pretty good and you prefer to have more of a challenge, that's when we make our ball smaller. Take the hands above the ankles, pull the heels closer and towards you, try and peer over the knees. Keep this small ball shape as you roll back, and keep it as you arrive in your balance point. So whatever version feels best for you, you can do, and it might be different on different days. Let's go ahead and do just one more, and roll all the way up. All right. So now from here, you're going to go ahead and lengthen both of your legs out and separate them so they are just a little wider than your hips and shoulders. Feet are flexed. So from here, we're going to go ahead and go into a little spine stretch forward variation. So you're going to exhale, nod the chin, start to sequence over, very similar to how we did earlier before we did the roll downs. But once you've rounded over, I want you to start to reach your fingertips away and reach your tail back behind you so the spine begins to lengthen and straighten. And you're going to start to bring the arms up in line with the spine. So there's a straight line in line from your fingertips to your tail. And then you're going to go ahead and bring yourself upright. and then drawing the arms back out in front of you. And again, exhale, nodding the chin, sequencing over, like you're rounding your spine over a big beach ball. And then reaching forward through the fingertips and back through the tail. We find that nice length through the spine, so the back of the body feels active here. And then lifting back upright. I'm gonna do one more like that. Nodding the chin, sequencing over. And then reaching forward through the fingertips, back through the tail. And we bring ourselves upright. So now from here, as you keep the arms up, lift your heels and separate them out just outside the mat. And now take your arms out to the sides for saw. You're gonna keep our sit bones planted. You're gonna inhale, start to rotate to your right. You're gonna go ahead and reach your left pinky finger to your right pinky toe. That back arm spirals under so the palm is shining to the ceiling. You're gonna reach back to those back fingertips to help initiate the lift upright, and then unwind back to center. Inhale, rotating left, and then reaching right pinky finger to left pinky toe, back palm spirals to face the ceiling, and then reaching back to lift up. As you're doing this again, both of your sit bones remain planted on the floor. And lift and center. Inhale, rotate. Exhale and reach. Reach back to the back fingertips to help draw you up and center. One more each side. And lift and center. Last one here. And go ahead and come center. Now from here, you're going to draw the arms out in front of you, curl back behind your sit bones just enough that you can slide your legs together, roll back up, flex your toes, and then let's go ahead and draw the arms to a goalpost position, just 90 degrees like that, if you can see. All right, so as again, we keep our sit bones planted, and you're going to exhale now, rotate to the right, and then add a little pulse. Inhale, center. Exhale, rotate left and pulse. Pulling those toes back towards you. When you rotate right, think of that right side of the rib cage drawing back as the left side pushes forward. Exhale, rotate and pull. Keep that lift and verticality of the spine. You're neither arching nor rounding as you rotate. Let's go ahead and do just one more to the left. And come to center. Let the arms come down and go ahead and just circle and roll your shoulders back and around. All right, from here, cross the ankles as you pull the heels in towards you. Come forward onto all fours. Aligning your wrists below the shoulders and the knees below the hips, middle finger pointing straight ahead. If you're prone to hyperextending your elbows as I am, you want to make sure you have a little engagement of your tricep and bicep there. Abdominals pulling up and in. So first we're just going to go ahead and exhale, round up into your Halloween cat. Think of using equal effort to draw your breastbone and pubic bone towards one another. And then you're going to inhale, think of drawing your pubic bone and breastbone away from one another as you smile the collarbone through between the arms. And again, exhale and rounding up. And inhale to extend the spine. And exhale and round. And inhale to extend. So this time you're going to go ahead and exhale and round. You're going to keep curling your tail under as you begin to sit back in the direction of your heels. When you get to the point that the weight has left your fingertips, that's where you pause. And then you're going to go ahead and let the pelvis release back and the chest pull forward between the arms, and then bring yourself back forward out over your fingertips. And so we round, keep curling the tail as you go back. When the weight is out of the fingertips, tail releases back, chest draws forward. Push your knees down and back to come forward. And again, round. So it has kind of a nice wave-like quality to it. If it's confusing, you can just settle with a regular cat and cow. One more time, rounding the spine, beginning to sit back, and then letting the tail release and the shoulders, the chest come forward, and then bring it back to your quadruped. So now from here, we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of side to side motion through the spine. We haven't done much of that yet. So we're gonna go ahead and let our tail swing to the right, while at the same time taking the crown of the head to the right. So we feel that left side of our rib cage and spine open up. And then we're gonna bring it through center. Tail swings over to the left while the crown of the head also reaches left. You're just gently taking it from side to side. Don't feel like you have to push into a hard place or a place of pain. Kind of like a happy dog wagging its full body, head and tail. Go ahead and do one more each way. Bringing it back to center. So now from here, we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of stability work through the shoulders. So first off, you're just gonna go ahead and let yourself sink between them so the shoulder blades move together. So this is definitely what we don't want on this series. And now as you push down through the hands and the shoulder blades slide back out towards the sides of the ribs, it should feel like you're standing through your arms like they're pillars. And we wanna maintain that. And I realize my shirt is kind of untucked there. So now from here, we're gonna go ahead and shift our weight into our left arm as you take your right hand to the front of your left shoulder. And you're trying to keep your trunk nice and still here. And you'll step your right hand back down and then try the same thing on the other side. So hopefully you're feeling some abdominal connection as well as that loading of the shoulder. And then what you're gonna start to do is play around with different positions that you set your hands down. So you can gradually start to walk your hands out about as wide as the mat. And remember, you want to try to keep your trunk stable. So you're probably going to feel the weight through your knees shift kind of in like a push-pull mechanism. And then once you've gone out as wide as the mat, work your way back in, nice and narrow. All right, from here, let's go ahead and sit back towards the heels into child's pose just to take some weight off the wrist for a moment. Take a nice inhale there. And then from here, we're gonna go ahead and come back forward onto all fours. So you're gonna walk your knees back just a tiny bit, so they're a little bit back behind the hips. And then you're gonna go ahead and pull your heels towards your bottom. So now from here, again, you're pushing the floor away so the shoulder blades feel wide. Make sure that your neck is also in line so it feels like your ears are in line with the neck. Now, as you start to bend your elbows, I want you to think of spiraling your elbows into the sides of the ribs. And it's like you're dipping down to take a sip of water as if you were a tiger, and you press back up. You inhale and exhale for the work to press up. Inhale to lower, exhale, press up. You just have 4 more. Bending to a level that feels right to you. You don't have to go as low as I'm going. Two more, I think. I'm a bad counter. And left, good. So now you're gonna set your feet down. And now, as you keep your abdominals pulled up and in, start to let the front of the hips open up towards the floor. Again, you spiral your elbows close in by the ribs as you slowly lower yourself down onto your belly. From here, we're gonna go ahead and lengthen our arms down next to the sides of our body with our palms facing in towards our thighs. So let your shoulders just relax towards the floor first. Nose is gonna barely be hovering above it. So you're gonna go ahead and inhale, lift the collarbone away from the floor so you feel your shoulder blades move together like elevator doors closing. And then go ahead and hover the hands away from the mat so now you feel your triceps engaged. And then you're gonna go ahead and lift the head and upper chest, finding a little bit of high back upper extension. And then lower back down to a hovering nose, allowing the arms and shoulders to come back to the floor. And again, first the collarbone lifts, then the hands, then the head and chest. And lower all the way back down. Again, shoulder blades move together. Weight of the hands are lifted, lifting the head and upper chest. Lower back down. This time you're going to sequence it all together. And so everything lifts. And then we bring it back down. And inhale as you lift. Keep your hip bones pressing into the floor, toes reaching back. One more time here and lift. And lower on down. So now from here, you're going to go ahead and bend the elbows so the fingertips are just forward of the shoulders. Arms are about as wide as your ribs. Now you're going to go ahead and start to brush your nose forward. And once the ears are about in line with the neck, keep that alignment as you start to look further up. And keep looking up as your abdominals lift towards the spine and you push the floor down and forward. And then keep your shoulder blades low and wide as you lower it back down. And then letting the head fall forward. And again, inhale, nose brushes forward so we bring the ears in line with the neck. From there, as we start to look further forward, we have to move from our upper backs. Abdominals pull up and in, shoulder blades stay low and wide. And again, exhale, lowering back down with control. And again, you don't have to lift up as high as I am. You can keep it a little lower if that's more comfortable for your back, or if you want to lift above your thighs for a more advanced variation, you can too. Let's do one last one here. Brushing the nose forward and lift and lower all the way down. Place one hand on top of the other and just let your hips kind of swing a little bit from side to side to relax the low back and sacral area. Now from here, you're going to go ahead and come onto your forearms, bringing your elbows, and so they're very close to being underneath your shoulders, and getting the forearms to run parallel to one another. So you're going to flex your feet, and so the toes are drawn under. And we're going to go into an 8-point plank. So that means you'll have your hands, elbows, knees, and feet supported by the mat. And the way you're going to get into this is you want to think of the base of the neck first kind of drawing up towards the ceiling. And as you push down through your forearms, you're going to continue working through the spine as you roll your pelvis up off the floor. And you're basically just kind of bringing it to where it's nice and level. So there's a level line from the back of your skull to your sacrum. Abdominals are pulling up and in. And as you reach down through your forearms into the floor, imagine trying to pull your mat apart. That gets you into your straightest a little bit more. Breathing there, abdominals lifting. Take one more inhale, and then exhale. You're going to start to let the front of the hips open into the mat, and then the chest comes forward, and we come back to our start position. Inhale there, exhale. Base of the neck travels towards the ceiling, scooping the abdominals up and in as we roll the hips up off the floor. Coming nice, long, level line here. Breathing wide into the sides of the ribs. Pulling the mat apart with the forearms. And then letting the front of the hips open. And opening the chest back up between the arms. We're going to do one last one. So start to round through, forearms pushing down, lifting the hips up off the floor to your 8-point plank. Push through those forearms, try and push that mat apart. Breathing. And then letting the hips open and rolling back down. From here, you can go ahead and let the belly come all the way to the floor. Bring your palms flat onto the mat. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, let's go ahead and draw yourselves back into a child's pose. Breathing into the sides of the ribs or the low back if that feels more comfortable there. All right. So from here, we're going to go ahead and take it onto one side. I'm going to lie down on my left side so my right hip is up towards the ceiling. So my bottom arm is lengthened so my ear can rest on it. If that is uncomfortable for this bottom shoulder, you can always grab a pillow or something to prop the head up. So from here, first we're just going to go ahead and start with the knees bent. Heels are about in line with my tail. So I'm going to move my pelvis a little further away from my ribs, and so my spine is nice and long and my ribs are slightly lifted away from the floor there. And try to keep the hips stacked as you exhale. Push that top heel down and into your bottom heel to rotate the top knee up. And then inhale to lower with control. And exhale, there's a little abdominal connection, keeping the ribs drawn in. So you're really trying to isolate the movement right at the hip joint. So you start to feel the back of your hip work. I'm going to do a couple more like this as we start to warm up the glutes. And this time you're going to go ahead and rotate the knee up and keep it rotated. You're still going to try to keep the length between the ribs and the pelvis, but you're going to crease at the hip as if you're drawing the knee towards the armpit, and then you're going to tap back down and lift and lower. You're keeping that rotation happening at the hip. Couple more like this. Now when you bring the leg about halfway up, you're going to go ahead and rotate, and so you tap the knees together, and then we're going to spiral open and click the heels. And then tap the knees and tap the heels. And again, keeping stability through the trunk. Couple more like that. Now from here, you're going to lengthen your top leg out nice and long so it's back in line with the spine, not forward of it. The abdominals are drawn in, so the back is an arch, and we're going to take the leg up a little higher than the pelvis. We're still going to maintain that space between the ribs and the pelvis though. Inhale, you go down just to a hover, and then taking it back up. I'm just going to glance down and make sure that when that leg lifts, that it's not drawing forward of the spine. Couple more like that, and then we have just one more variation before we switch sides. Now you're going to bring the leg just so it's level with the pelvis. We're going to do a nice clean hinge at the hip to take the leg forward. You're going to tap your big toe to the floor, lift it back up to hip height, and now reach it to your back diagonal while keeping your abdominal connection so the spine is an arch. And again, take it forward, tap, lift, and reach it to your back diagonal. Let's inhale forward, tap, lift, exhale to reach it back. Inhale, tap, lift, and exhale, reach back. One more time, come forward, tap, lift, and reach it on back. From here, you can go ahead and let's set that top leg down a little bit back behind your bottom leg and place your top hand down. You might feel a little stretch in that outer hip. Then you're going to go ahead and draw yourself up so you're already coming into stacked legs here. If that's not comfortable on your hips, feel free to place one leg on top of the other. You're going to go ahead and reach the arms out to the sides. And first, we're going to plant our left hand down. Think of pushing down and away through the left hand to translate the rib cage a little right as we side bend and stretch open that right side. And then lifting up nice and tall. Grab that right shin as we alternate to the other side, now stretching that left side. Inhale there and exhale, stack up tall. Let's go ahead and take it to the other side. So you'll be lying down on your right side now with your left hip on top. Again, shoulders stacked, hips stacked, move your pelvis to a position where your trunk is nice and long. So from here, exhale, you're going to rotate that top knee up and inhale to lower. Making sure that as you're lifting that knee, that you're not letting your pelvis fall back, as if you're staying lined up against a wall. Couple more as we warm up the back of that left hip. Now we're going to rotate. You're going to try to keep the space between the pelvis and the ribs as we draw the knee in the direction of the armpit and then come down and lift and lower. Keeping that spiral of the thigh bone. All right, one more drawing up and then go just about halfway down. And now we're gonna internally rotate, so we tap the knees, externally rotate, click the heels, and tap and click. Again, your pelvis stays still. It's moving and isolating in the hip. Go ahead and do one more here. And now lengthen your leg out nice and long so it's in line with the spine, ribs connecting in. Take that leg a little higher than the pelvis without turning the knee out or down, and then bringing it down just to a hover and reaching away to glide up and lower. You can almost think as if you're lengthening the inner thigh to find those outer hip muscles. Couple more here. All right, this time you're gonna lift and you're just gonna bring it down to the height of the pelvis. And now you're gonna inhale, take a clean hip hinge forward, tap that big toe, lift it back up, and then reach it to your back diagonal while staying connected through the abdominals. And forward, tap, lift. As the leg reaches back, you're making sure not to arch through the spine. Tap, lift, and reach the leg back. And bring it forward, tap, lift, reach it back. Couple more here. And reach. Let's do one last one. Reach it to the back diagonal and then come slightly forward. Set that foot down. Let the knee bend so it's slightly behind your front leg. Pressing down through your top hand into the floor. Draw yourself on up to your stag seated position. Again, if it's not comfortable in the hips, just take that top leg onto, or excuse me, that left leg onto your right leg. So arms out to the sides. First, we're gonna go ahead and plant our right hand down as we take that left arm up and over. Push down and away through that right hand so the rib cage kind of moves a little to the left. So we're really opening up that left side. Take a nice inhale there and exhale, lift up through your center, taking it to the other side as you grab onto your left shin and side bend towards the left. Now breathing into your right lung. Let's take a nice inhale there and exhale, lifting up nice and tall. Go ahead and bring the arm down. You're gonna come around to all fours and then go ahead and just round up into a halloween cat. Curl your toes under and push down and away through your hands to bring yourself over your feet. So you're kind of in a crouched position here. Let the ribs rest to the thighs and breathe into the low back there. And take one more inhale and then exhale, start to lengthen through the legs, sending the crown of the head down through the floor as the hips start to draw up towards the ceiling. And keep the knees bent a little bit here so you can comfortably keep the spine hanging out of the pelvis there. And take a nice inhale. And exhale, go ahead and lift the low belly. Start to curl the sit bones under as you begin to roll up one vertebra at a time. Actively pushing the floor away through the feet to help give the spine lift. Inhaling nice and tall. From here, you're gonna go ahead and bend the elbows, palms down. You're gonna move the arms a little further away from the body as if you're setting them on imaginary armrests. Now from here, you're gonna go ahead and start to pull the elbows back behind you so your shoulder blades start to kiss towards one another. And then you're gonna allow the arms to lengthen. So you might be already feeling a little stretch to the front of the chest through the arms. Let the chest lift a little bit, gazing up. Take a nice inhale there. And then exhale, letting the arms come down, and just take a little circle of the shoulders forward, up, back, and down. And one more time there. And just allow your shoulder blades to settle, and we will stop there. Thank you so much for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions on the chat board.